Okay, good morning, GBC, Global Business Communication class. What happened this week is we did a Zoom meeting on Monday, and I got some feedback on that, and it seemed like everybody enjoyed it, but there was a few downsides to it. One, the quality isn't as good as doing a lecture when I record it, so that's one disadvantage. And of course, it's less convenient to actually have to log in and talk to all of us, talk together at the same time. But the upside, of course, was the fact we could talk to each other, and I got to see your faces, which was great. Like I said in my email that I sent you, basically the feedback indicated that most people preferred actually the YouTube format. So I will continue to do my lectures like this. They're easy to stop and start, and you can look at the subtitles and everything else. So we'll continue to do this, but there was some interest in having another Zoom meeting, so we'll do that. I think I will give you instructions. I decided to do the makeup lecture just to add a write-up this week for the makeup lecture. So this is going to be the only video you have to watch this week. Just make sure you do it by Sunday night, tomorrow night. And that's it. And we'll continue doing, the 2 lectures a week like we were doing before. But there's just one for this week. There is going to be a part 2 to digital identity because this topic is actually very relevant and very complicated. The second part is going to be about digital identity from a different perspective, more a personal one. This one's just going to be an overview, and the one next week's going to be a more personally oriented one. And then I'm going to do the following week. The topic is going to be digital rhetoric, which I will discuss later. We'll get into that, what that means. And I think since most of you are using English as your second language, spreading this topic out a little bit because there's a lot of jargon involved and it's quite complicated vocabulary-wise, would be better for your understanding, especially as we get closer to the exam. So that's the plan. So today I'm going to use my board a little bit and just go over, the elements of digital identity first, and then I'll follow up in more detail with part 2, and then the third part will be digital rhetoric. Okay, so what is digital identity? Well, technically, if you look it up and you Google it, you're going to find that it's just basically how you represent yourself. And since we created this thing we call cyberspace, and this is a cyber lecture, you need to find a way to, you need to know where the information is coming from. And that's not always the case. Some people are intentionally trying to just put information out on the internet and not have it connected to a person, organization, or thing. It's not supposed, but in many cases people want to know where that information comes from, and if you do know where it comes from, then it provides some security and some validation of the content. We had our lecture earlier this semester on misinformation and disinformation, and I mean that is again, that's part of the difference between disinformation and misinformation, is that the disinformation that's out there is sometimes people either not giving you information about who they are, not validating or authenticating, not establishing trust with you on purpose, in order to make you believe something that may not be true. So there's a malicious intent there. And one of the ways to accomplish that spread of information is to not have a source for it and not to let people know where it's coming from. If you know, one of the most notorious examples of this behavior recently is the allegations about the American election in 2016. That there were Russians with fake accounts everywhere, pretending to be other people, or just not really providing any information, specific information at all, and then just starting these rumors or planting these seeds of false information, which other people unwittingly picked up on and then circulated. So this has become increasingly important. On the other hand, on the far end of the scale, on that end of the scale, it's all about trust and validation and sourcing and establishing some sort of knowledge and awareness between users and groups of people and organizations, institutions on the internet, because you're not physically near the person to validate with your senses, your normal senses anyway. One of the things that you are going to encounter, though, is that if everybody knows who you are, they can track you and they can potentially steal your information. So that on the other end of the scale, you have this interest in knowing who people are and needing to know that information for various reasons. And then on the other end, you have abuse of this information and stealing and manipulation of people and tracking people without their knowledge and all kinds of bad, criminal things and in infringements on people's rights, and violent threats and violence and abuse can occur if somebody can follow you, who you are, and do things. So there's also all these options. If you use Facebook or even if you use YouTube, you're able to block people. You're able to not see people. You're allowed to, remove them or cut off contact or make sure that they can't see the things that you're doing on the internet. We have all these options now because of that. So you have the two extremes there, knowing exactly who the person is and having all this information, maybe all the information potentially, in some of these science fiction stories, all you have to do is, stick your finger on a screen, or they scan your fingerprint, and then they know everything you've done from the moment you were born, right? And potentially what people in your family have done and all the connections. It's just a scary, dystopian Big Brother idea that someone would be able to just check your DNA or check your fingerprints and know everything about you instantly. And there's some real dangers to that. But anyway, we'll just focus on what the idea is, not the potential dangers, because that will follow with the rhetoric in a couple weeks. But let's just, for now, focus on the aspects, and that'll be our starting point, and then we'll build on that in subsequent lectures. So the environment is what I'm talking about right now. The digital identity, obviously, it's called digital for a reason. So the environment is cyberspace. It's an environment where things are composed of bits of information that are stored digitally on servers or hard drives or memory space all around the world. It can be in a cloud now, so you can access it anywhere. But that's what the environment is. It means the characteristics of where the information is and how you're using it and how you're interacting. We've talked about Marshall McLuhan and hot medium and cold mediums and stuff. All of these things sort of feed into this concept or connect with what we're doing right now, because actually this is we're in the environment right now. We're not in the classroom. We're not in the digital environment. But right now, when I'm recording, this is going into my memory space, and then when I upload it on YouTube, then it becomes accessible to everyone. And so I upload myself onto the internet so that you can access it. And I've made the choice of, some professors are making it sort of limited access to their videos, so only their students can watch them. But I chose to use the YouTube platform and to just allow anybody to see it. My friends, my family, complete strangers, people in Africa or North America or South America or Asia, it doesn't matter. Anybody can watch the videos, and they can say they can respond to me how they want to, but I'm basically uploading my digital identity every time I do this. So that is the environment that we're working in. Trust. So yes, I have a YouTube account. I have a password. I have a username. I'm the only one that can access it unless I allow somebody else to go in there and look at it. So I can control how I'm represented. My digital identity is under my control, but how it's received and how people perceive me is not under my control. But I can manipulate all sorts of things. I can put slides and I can not show my face, or I can show my face and I can dress up differently, and I can change the settings, I can change the colors. I can even make this video black and white. Maybe I will do some of this stuff, but editing takes too much time actually. So I would love to make my video fancier for you, but it just takes, when I'm doing 10 video lectures every week, I'm not able to do that. But once I improve my digital identity manipulation skills, I would potentially be able to do all kinds of weird things, special effects, and adding music and background things, and even, just physical things I could add here. I could wear costumes and have a bigger board and all kinds of things. These, when I've established a trust with you, and you've subscribed to my channel, and every time you go here, you're not going to see something weird and unexpected. You're going to see Professor Sullivan doing his best to deliver a lecture. Then you've established a relationship based on identity, right? You can identify the channel, and it's associated with me, and I have my credentials. It's connected to the CNU portal. It's connected to my website. You have all these different things that are connected. And you can look up my personal information on the CNU website and see that I've worked there for 10 years. And I'm in the English department, and you're like, okay, I have all this information. This guy's a real person. Even though I've never met him in person, although some of you have, Ahmed and Sanghyun and Sandra, all of you have met me in person, so I'm a real person. And you can see that through the video. But all of these things together build the trust, so that when I say something, you know where it's coming from, and you're more likely to believe what I'm going to say, just based on my reputation and the relationship we have. So you can do that as well. I used to play computer games a lot, too much. I played a game called World of Warcraft, and I did discuss this when I did my conference paper last December. I used that as part of, basically just as an illustration of what I was talking about, what I'm talking to you right now. And I'm not referring to my paper too much, because it was an academic conference, and it's a little bit of a stretch to use that for an undergrad lecture. But suffice to say that at times I tried to make it more accessible to everyone, even though I was basically surrounded mostly by graduate students and professors when I made my speech. But the point I was trying to make is that I had all these friends. I still have friends who I established relationships through 100% digitally. I never saw any of these people, even in a video. I played the game. My character was a paladin, if you know what I was, a warrior, like a warrior that could do healing spells. That was my character. They all called me Malleus, because that was the name of my character. And I made all these friends. I made hundreds of friends. And I never called them by their real names. I called them by Shane Max, or Kamonazak, or Tamako, or Elfiria. These are weird names, right? But these are the names that I used to refer to these people. And later we became Facebook friends or whatever, and I saw pictures of them, and I was like, oh yeah, that's weird. I did never imagine that this guy that, played, I don't know, some kind of a dwarf character would look like a tall, handsome guy, or that the person might be a woman or a man. None of these things were really confirmed by playing the game with them. But I established those relationships through consistent patterns of interaction based on their digital representation in a game. Did you get all that? That was sort of directly taken from my conference paper almost. So that's how we establish a relationship, completely digitally. And that happens more often than it happens very often these days. You can make friends, and you can end up meeting them or never meeting them, and you're still friends. Case in point, and my wife was really shocked by this. Lots of people were out of work, including our family was struggling over the last few months to deal with a lot of things. And one of my friends is very fortunate to still have a good job. And he's a friend of mine that I played computer games with, which I kept in contact with. And we were just chatting. I was just asking him, like, how is it going in Texas? Because he lives in Texas. And he asked me how I was when Korea was doing poorly and struggling with coronavirus. And then I asked him about Texas after, America started to have a big issue and still dealing with the fallout from the mistakes in policy. I talked to him for a while, and when we were having a problem over here, he was lucky enough to be, have a stable job and make good money, and he doesn't have any kids or anything. So he just decided to help me out by just sending me some money. I never met this guy. He's just my friend from playing computer games it's got to be 15 years ago now that I first met him. 15 years ago when I was a university student, I played computer games with this guy, and I regularly talked to him, and we kept in touch. And then he was like, just here's a couple $100 American, and he sent it to me. This is not a joke. This is a real story. And I was like, really? I wouldn't do that, but he did. I have the money in my bank account. I haven't bought anything in American dollars yet, but I have it there if I need it. So that's the kind of thing that, validates the fact that how important this is, because that kind of behavior indicates that how strong an influence and how strong a relationship you can form with somebody, even though you've never actually met them, and your entire relationship is digital. And I've never video called the guy. I've only seen pictures of him and his family. That's it. And likewise, I've talked to him over a headset for hours and hours and hours. We're kind of good friends, but we never physically met, ever. So, interesting that this is being made possible by our technology, and it's something to think about as we go forward. So that trust can be formed through digital identity. So this is an important issue, and it can be broken too, and people can cheat you as well. Like this guy, obviously, I trust him as much as I would trust somebody who's actually my friend who I was 10 feet away from. But that takes a long time for you, and you got to be careful because it's easy to deceive people. So how do you identify people? Well, I just told you. Websites, accounts, logins, pictures, videos. Then live chat. The more identifiers you have, the better, and the more confirmation you have, the better. Privacy we talked about already. Some people stalk people, some people track people, some people are manipulating people or threatening them or trying to cause, violence or stealing. There's all kinds of things that can go wrong. So you have to protect your identity too. And there's all kinds of different things you can do. This enters into the legality of it too. Is it legal for somebody to take your information or not? And that's one of the things that Facebook got in trouble for a couple of years ago, is that basically Facebook is free, but when you're on Facebook, everything you do, all the information about you belongs to them, which can, if it's given to the wrong group of people, that can be extremely dangerous. And North Americans, I think certain groups of people, certain cultures are more concerned about it, and certain people at different ages are concerned about it, but I grew up not thinking about it at all. I said a lot of things on the internet that I shouldn't. I wouldn't want any of you to see the way that I talked in that computer game 15 years ago. I just got really angry at other people and at situations and say bad words, and sometimes you get censored, and I've been suspended. I got so angry about something and said bad things to somebody, and then, they say your account is suspended for 3 days because of bad behavior. This is normal stuff. I've seen Koreans play computer games. They say some pretty nasty things to each other. And that also has to be, if you push it too far, it's verbal abuse, right? So the company has to regulate it, and that can be internal or it can be external. Like it can be handled by the company itself, or it can become a legal issue. That kind of information can be used in a court against you if it becomes serious enough. Okay, so And now the policies that are created for this, I mean, they come, that's connected to the legal aspect, but policies are also formed by companies because, you know, when Facebook decides to make their product free, but they need to make money, they're not stupid. They know that the information they collect is more valuable than you paying them $1 a month to use their service or whatever it would be. Obviously, a billion people paying $1 billion a month is $1 billion. But how many people would quit and not use it if it was not free? A lot of them would. So you wouldn't be making it. You got to make these calculations. And you guys are, you girls and guys, you young people, are soon to be graduating, and you may end up working in a company that in some aspect you're going to be involved in social media or use these programs. We've been talking about it already, but this is a thing you have to think about too, is how do you want your company to be represented? What is the digital identity of your company? What is your digital identity, and what's your policy going to be, and how you're going to handle it? When you have a chat room, does everybody come up with their own nicknames, or do you have to use your real name, right? For academic purposes, for education, I asked you all to tell me your usernames and your student numbers, because my primary way of identifying you, I know some of your names, but most of my students I don't. Really, I track everything by your student number, and that's why I kept saying at the beginning of the semester, every time you talk to me, every time you message me, anytime you do anything, please type your student number, because then that's how I identify you. And this is my policy. It's all based on how I can manage the class more efficiently, because otherwise I won't have enough time to be an effective lecturer if I'm spending my whole time trying to figure out who you are. I can't do my job. Okay? So policies, the business aspect is huge. This is, it's been continuously, working its way into businesses and integrating ever more closely with all kinds of business models. And I'm sure you've studied this a little bit in other classes, or a lot. But this is something that I want to work into our discussion of digital identity and rhetoric, is how to develop an effective policy, how to use technology, social media, how to manage professionals in the workplace, and how politics work when you're representing yourself digitally. And of course, I'll continue to try and give you some concrete examples, like my computer game experience. I'm sure you have your own experiences too, and maybe this will help you grasp the concepts better that I'm trying to explain. So I will upload this video to you. Please watch it by Sunday night. And as far as the makeup class was concerned, we did the Zoom meeting, and I'm going to add a write-up just to talk about how to do the presentation that will be due at the end of May, because you have to record yourself. It's going to be fun. And I got some smiles on the Zoom meeting. I saw people smiling and not looking super excited about it, but I think a smile indicates that it's going to be difficult, but that there's going to be some things involved in it that are going to be quite beneficial to you. I hope you realize that. So I'll put the information about what happened this week and some advice and some description of this stuff in the write-up as well, just to make what I'm saying clearer as we go through the next couple weeks talking about digital identity. Okay, that's all for this morning, and I hope you have a good weekend. Enjoy the warm weather. We are suddenly in summer, and so May is looking pretty nice, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Have a good day.